Hi everyone. Let's get right to it. So the next book I'm reading is, well, not next book. This was the book that I was talking about in my previous video regarding chess books. So this one is called Gary Kasparov's My Great Predecessors. Yeah, let's get right to it. kind of expected this book to be um like interviews of other chess players, but I did not expect. I don't know if you guys can see it here. I did not expect this book to be like this. I don't know a single thing about chess, so yeah, this is a. I don't know if this is what I want to look at. Yeah, edit bar. I'm gonna just read. I what I was reading. I was reading Kasparov's statement. Well, Kasparov's descriptions of past champions. I don't know if you guys can see. No, but that's done. I'm gonna close this for now. I'm just gonna read. Let's see what people are reading. Holy crap. What the fuck. It's a long book. Some people are natural storytellers, so they know how to set the scene, find the right angle, and pause the pause for dramatic effect, or embrace past inconvenient details. I wouldn't have become a librarian if I didn't love stories, but I've never been great at telling my own. If I had a penny for every time I interrupted my own anecdote to debate whether this actually had happened on Tuesday, or if it had infected Thursday, then I'd have at least 40 cents. And that's way too big a chunk of my life wasted for way too small of a payout. Peter, on the other hand, would have 0 cents and a rapt audience. I especially loved the way he told our story about the day we met. It was late spring 3 years ago. We lived in Richmond at the time, a mere 5 blocks separating a sleek apartment in a renovated Italiante from my shabby, not quite chic version of the same kind of place. On my way home from work, I detoured through the park, which I never did, but the weather was perfect, and I was wearing a floppy brimmed hat, which I never had. My mailed it to me the week before, and I felt like I owed it to her to at least try it out. I was reading as I walked, which I'd vowed to stop doing because I nearly caused a bike accident doing so weeks earlier, when suddenly a warm breeze caught the hat's brim. It lifted off my head and swooped over an azalea bush, right to a tall, handsome blond man's feet. Peter said. This felt like an invitation. Laughed, almost deprecating, almost self-deprecatingly, as he added, I'd never believed in fate before that. If it was fate, then it's reasonable to assume fate a little bit hates me, because when he bent to retrieve the hat, another gust swept it into the air, and I chased it right after, and I chased after it right into a trash can. The metal kind bolted to the ground. My head landed atop a pile of discarded lo mein. The lip of the can smashed into my ribcage, and I did a wheezing pratfall into the grass. Peter described this as adorably clumsy. He left out the part where I screamed a string of expletive, an oath or a swear word, expletive, string of expletives. I fell in love with the fiend the moment I looked up from her hat. He'd say, no mention of the trashy noodles in my hair. When he asked if I was okay, I said, "Did I kill a bicyclist?" He thought I had hit my head. Nope, just bad at first impression. Okay, maybe it's not for me. Um, what you see, but you do not observe. It all started with a book that made me curious. I was on a house call in Georgetown. Invited to browse the personal book collection of a woman who used to be a professional rare book dealer like me. In the tree dappled sunlight that filtered through the windows, I spent the afternoon going through her library. Okay, this is a little bit better, I guess. As the wind grazed the branches outside, the light within the room shifted, sparkling across the antique rug, the gently worn furniture, and the bookcases. Every shelf had been filled with books that quietly spoke their discernment. Instead of a flashy modern edition of Pride and Prejudice, this woman had a rather ugly one, bound in drab brown paper boards resembling dilapidated cardboard. It also bore an unusual revised title, Elizabeth Bennet, or Pride and Prejudice. Despite its humble appearance, I knew the book was incredibly rare. It was the first edition of Pride and Prejudice published in the United States from 1832. Sheesh. What is that, like $10,000? A woman who kept this book on her shelf knew a good book when she saw it, even if others around her might overlook it. Jane Austen is one of my favorite writers. Still haven't read any of her stuff. She was born in 1775 in the English countryside, Steventon, Hampshire, and went on to become the first great woman writer in English. According to one of her many modern biographers, she wrote 6 major novels along with a novella, 2 other incomplete novels, and what scholars call juvenilia. Juvenila. Early writing she composed when she was grown up. I've always been drawn to Austen's confidence, how she guides the reader through her heroines, Jesus, heroines, struggles and uncertainties. And I like her wit, which shines in the details she chooses to linger on. Austen died fairly young, at the age of 41, and I've often wished that she had lived to write more. Yeah. I think, well, when did Chopin die? 37, 39? I think everyone once wishes that he lived a few decades more, so he could have written at least 2 more piano sonatas, a few more ballades, and maybe something else, something of his own original kind of thing. But on that house call, it wasn't Pride and Prejudice that made me curious. I have handled many different editions of Austen's books over the years, including a wide variety of 19th century ones. We would certainly purchase this copy. It was another shelf that drew my eye, one lined with a series of books that had been published during the 1890s and early 1900s by Macmillan in London, recognizable because of their stunning emerald green cloth bindings and elaborate gilt spines. I took one glance and knew we'd make an offer on the entire collection. Offer accepted. We boxed up our acquisitions and transported back to the shop. The book that would change my life was lying within. Shit. A few months later, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop, ready to spend a few hours cataloging new acquisitions. Before a book is offered for sale, we rare book dealers record its physical attributes. Is it bound in cloth, leather? Does it have any damage? Signs of previous ownership? We We also often write a brief summary of its importance, drawing on the work of other experts in our field and surrounding fields, not just literary critics and biographers, but also book historians or scholars who study the history of the book. We call the result a catalog description, which becomes our official documentation for that rare book. Conditions of the book: is it leather bound? Is it leather bound? Is it cloth leather bound? Damage? Signs of previous ownership? Okay. Certain details. On that day, I had plenty of options for which book I would catalog first. I am a maker of piles. This stack has books I've cataloged but not yet put online. That stack contains a few volumes I've pulled for our next newsletter of new arrivals. Yet another stack came from that Georgetown house call. I looked toward the last stack of books. 3 volumes down from the top said a novel called Evelina by Frances Burney. I had seen Burney's name before, mostly on the spines of books at antiquarian book fairs in the UK, but I couldn't recall any details of her life. I certainly hadn't read any of her books. I purchased this one primarily for the emerald green cloth binding. Not all books are collected because they are first editions. Some are collected for their beauty. This one dated from 1903, a period when UK and US publishers commissioned artists to design eye-catching cloth bindings as a marketing tool. This before dust jackets rose to dominance. The front board featured a woman poised with a quill pen, dressed in voluminous skirts and a plumed hat. She stood beneath a tree, clusters of leaves spreading across nearly half the binding, all stamped in gilt. Stamped in gilt upon that rich emerald green background, just like it had in the library in Georgetown. When the light hit it just right, it sparkled. I have no problem admitting that I've bought books for their covers, but even when I do, I care about the story in the book and the story of the book. I want to know what the book is about. What happens? How was it different than the stories that came before? How was it similar? I want to know about the author. Who was she? How does she go to be a writer? I want to know. Okay, yeah. I want to know about the book's publication. What do people think about it then? What do they think about it now? I want to know where it has been. Who owned this book? How do they care for it? Why was it saved for so long? To be a rare book dealer is to appreciate that the book itself, the object, can be as interesting as its text. That is interesting. It just sounds like marketing, to be honest. Like how it feels like she's trying to find ways to make it more marketable. I think I understand what why she brought up the details of the cover of the book, and with following the questions that she has about the identity of the book, not the content of the book, but to basically grab a story, write up a story about like, what do people think about it then, or what do they think about it now? I mean, that is an interesting insight to think about. Personally, I don't know jack about books and the history of books and all that. But in my opinion, with anything, I don't know, with anything in general, I think the most important thing is how you perceive the work. I think that's the most important thing. Uh, and this is a very selfish and at the same time a bit narcissistic way to put it, but when I personally look at when I personally look at things, anything art, there's a point of me that's trying to understand what this person was thinking, what the artist was blah, blah, what the artist was thinking with each brush stroke, choice of color, perspective, right? That's just coming out. That's all in the end determined by my own perception. I may read articles, magazines, interviews, um, that go into detail about what this artist was thinking about with this specific artwork, and what she intended the characters to be, she intended certain characters to be in that artwork. But in the end, it also really matters of how I perceive the work, because I'm trying to grow, right? I'm trying to learn more about myself. It's when I look at tens or hundreds of artworks, for example, I may grow, but if I were to look at thousands or tens of thousands, it's going to be a very different story. It's an exciting thing to think about. Whatever, and this is kind of off topic, and it's actually why I started looking at art. I started looking at just random art online, and there are some very helpful sites that apparently I read that a lot of sites don't really have high resolution images of paintings, because people may download that and illegally print it and illegally sell it to pocket some money. But anyways, there are some sites that very gratefully have high quality images of certain paintings. And when I look at the details, it's striking, because I'm trying to imagine myself drawing that, or I'm trying to imagine myself doing brush strokes, and it's impossible to do that. It's impossible to imagine what was going through these wonderful minds when they were painting, when they were making these creations. And it's like I'm also at the same time using my own imagination to perceive the work in my own way. So yeah, I couldn't be bothered with the outside stuff, only the inside stuff. I mean, it is interesting, like I said, because the thoughts of the marketers around that time to make to have this in this certain color and in this certain type of binding, in this certain type of opinions and etc. It's all at the in the end. I don't think it really. I don't think I don't know. I really don't. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't know about this last sentence. To be a rare book dealer is to appreciate that the book itself, the object, can be as interesting as its text. That's a very interesting. That's something that I completely disagree. But I would love to hear a little bit more about why she thinks like that. I'm assuming more details are as to follows. But she obviously knows. The author of this book obviously knows more about books than me, so I'm very very curious of where she stands with that, because I don't think that's ever I don't think um it's not only not possible, but it can't reach that. It's like completely different things, you know. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like we're comparing, like we're trying to think that 3 plus 3 is can be as complex as um can be as complex as 1,000 page book. I've made a career out of that curiosity. I like to ask questions, approaching books like a detective. My job. See, this is another thing. If she likes to ask questions, and I understand that she's asking questions about the book and trying to find like the trying to create a puzzle, I guess, or puzzle pieces together. Not a puzzle. Excuse me, puzzle pieces that can fit in that can further highlight the important characteristics of the book. You know what events, what thoughts did it bring to society. Um, okay, let me just read on. My book, my excuse me, my job is to investigate each book's story, its importance. When I present my findings, I anticipate interrogation for every statement, as if a judge were leaning over my shoulder, asking, "What's your evidence?" If I call a book up first edition, what's my evidence? If I say this book is rare, how do I know? Okay, if I call an author influential, where's my source? I take pride in doing work that Sherlock Holmes would compliment. Okay, um, excuse me, Francis Burney. Focused on your heroines, navigating difficulties of finding love, rather austin books very like words. Bernie was one of the most successful novelists of Austen's lifetime. I had no idea. He a rereader of Austen's work for decades. I'd overlooked this important English author. In spite of my supposed professional curiosity, I realized that I missed something that stung. Interesting why, when she says that it's stung, why? I mean, I'll be excited. I'll be very excited. Sherlock Holmes short story is Scandal in Bohemia. The detective famously is called. So you see, but you don't. You see, but you not observe. starving. Oh my god. I am starving. I didn't eat lunch, right? No, I didn't eat lunch. It's 3:51. God. Alright, what do we have? Do 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 do. I really need to get new contacts. You know, one of the things that I really wish comes out in the next 10 years are something that you can just give your eyes. Like something like an eye drop. Not even contacts, like literally an eye drop. If you drop 2 drops in, you just get 20/20 vision. Yeah. Oh my god, there's no way. Are you serious? How is it out of ink already? Dude, there's no way. North. Oh my, are you serious? It's not. Why can't I write? That's the back metal shirt. Yeah, on the front page, the period when lost a little bit of reading. Was one of the most fertile, diverse, and adventurous periods of novel writing in English history. His author has written one more paragraph before moving straight to Austen and Walter Scott. The previous chapter I examined Lawrence Sterne. I studied the ceiling into the map. Tristram Shandy's last volume was published in 1767. Austen's first published novel, Sense and Sensibility, came in 1811, but for a year simply skipped. Austen read William Shakespeare, John Milton, William Daniel Defoe, and Samuel Richardson. All this I've read. She also read Frances Burney, Monmouth Locke, Charles Lennox, Hannah More, Charles Smith, Elizabeth Ingeborg, Esther Piazzi, and Maria Edgeworth. All authors I hadn't. They were part of Austen's bookshelf, but they had disappeared entirely from mine, and largely from the leading literary theorist's bookshelf as well. It was unsettling to realize I had read so many of the men on Austen's bookshelf, but none of the women. Critical authorities like this one had provided the foundation for my understanding the past, but something was wrong. There was a crack in the foundation. I began to feel unsteady. All right. The feeling was all the more unsettling because this type of knowledge is central to what I do as a rare book dealer. It is my business to know what other people do not know. As the ever quotable Sherlock Holmes says, for instance, the first edition in English see you guys for tonight. I have a lot of catching up to do.